Well, finally, a little bit of good news for justice as it appears.
Any updates? Will Raja Jackson be arrested from what you're hearing?
Yeah, there's not a doubt in my mind. Everything's on.
After spending more than a week in hospital in critical care, he is now at home convalescing, according to his Facebook post on his...
Raja Jackson has officially been locked up as of September 5th, confirmed directly by Doug Mallow. After weeks of the LAPD dragging their feet while the internet went wild, Raja is finally behind bars. And this story is shaping up to be much more than just another flashy headline.
From a decent source that there are lawyers involved, but that was on the internet. I think it was X posted it, and then a couple other ones. Straight to jail.
Yep. So Raja's go. There's also one thing that needs to be cleared up from last week's podcast. You were talking about the crack.
This moment marks the breaking point, tearing apart every excuse, every stall, and every flimsy denial that's been tossed around. For weeks, people were glued to their screens, replaying the footage, debating the evidence, and waiting for law enforcement to act. But nothing came. That silence only fueled the fire. Millions of views piled up, comment sections exploded, and theories spread like wildfire while LAPD stayed quiet. Then, in one single move, everything shifted. The lawsuit hit, and the dominoes started crashing down hard.
Never in my life allowed them to be in any type of danger to themselves, to their livelihood, their lives, their family's livelihood. I'm responsible for this person. I'm their coach, right? So what I was saying is that
This wasn't just another dry legal filing. Syko Stu's lawsuit landed like a knockout punch. He went directly after Raja, accusing him of premeditated assault and demanding heavy damages. Doug had already hinted that lawyers were circling, and he wasn't bluffing. The moment Stu filed, the entire energy around the case shifted.
And someone said this to me. They go, how would you feel if that happened to you?
At first, because I was kind of in shock. I saw Stu, I saw the punches, it felt like slow motion. I'm looking around, I'm looking at Stu's friends staring at me, not running in. I'm only running.
Internet had already been buzzing with clues. Posts on X, threads on Reddit, even small community boards hinting that legal sharks were circling. But no one expected things to escalate this fast. The moment that lawsuit dropped, the LAPD had no choice but to step in. Their hand was forced. The public was demanding justice, and the evidence wasn't hidden in some file. It was right there on live streams for the world to see. The timing said it all. Lawsuit first, arrest immediately after. That wasn't coincidence. That was pressure exploding in real time. And it's clear why the lawsuit carried so much weight. Stu didn't just survive a brutal attack, he became the face of a larger fight for accountability. His recovery has been slow, but his supporters rallied around him. And the legal team stepping in finally cornered Raja in a way that made dodging consequences impossible.
I got that wrong in a second. Okay, it turns out that it was a cattle ranch that he was a part of with Syko Stu, okay? Important note, before I talk anymore.
Didn't just watch, they roared. Comment sections exploded, outrage spread, and suddenly this wasn't just some niche wrestling scandal. It was everywhere, flooding timelines and feeds across the internet. Then came the twist, YouTube's brand new hype feature. At first, no one realized how game-changing it could be, but this video set the standard. Fans didn't just click, they hyped it non-stop.
More than my bad.
He kept punching him to 22 times.
Well, here's the question. Let's say those guys didn't.
The hype around the case spread like wildfire, with numbers shooting up and conversations spilling across every corner of social media, proving how internet outrage can force real-world action. Without the podcast and millions of views, LAPD might have kept stalling. But because fans hyped the video and pushed the outrage to a boiling point, justice finally started to move. Doug and Ian's platform turned what some wanted buried into a story impossible to ignore. And when Doug confirmed Raja Jackson's arrest, it felt like vindication. For Stu still recovering, for the fans who drove the video viral, and for everyone who knew from day one, this wasn't some harmless wrestling scuffle, but something darker that demanded consequences. With Raja in custody and a lawsuit officially filed, the story moved out of internet chatter and into the courtroom. And while the internet raged with theories, Doug was on the phone with real LAPD detectives who pressed him for details, dissected conversations, and zeroed in on one key angle: premeditation. Was this a fight gone wrong, or a planned attack? At first, Doug feared he might be in trouble since he appeared in the videos trying to break things up. But detectives reassured him he wasn't the target. Even then, LAPD's slow crawl reminded him of the West Watson case in Miami, where it took months for authorities to act, which made Raja's arrest feel like a miracle. Lawsuit pressure, viral outrage, and mounting evidence finally snapped everything into place. Meanwhile, Doug's TMZ interview exploded bigger than he ever expected. sparking wild rumors that he'd gone soft, didn't want Raja arrested, or even that Rampage Jackson himself had paid him off, showing how quickly the narrative around a case this big can twist out of control.
It's crazy.
Flew that Rampage Jackson had paid Doug off to bury the scandal, but Doug clapped back instantly, joking that if Rampage wanted to drop $1 million on him, cool, but no bribe would ever buy his stance. He made it clear he wanted Raja punished, not walking free, but also not rotting without help. Real consequences paired with mandatory mental health evaluation. Of course, the internet twisted half his words, pushing wild spins while Syko Stu quietly fought his own battle, finally leaving the hospital but facing a fragile recovery from head trauma and PTSD, so fragile that doctors even shielded him from the truth at first. Trolls didn't care, pumping out heartless videos and, worse, uninvited visitors exposed Stu to the very content doctors warned against, forcing him to face how toxic the story had become. Meanwhile, Doug's every move drew fire. His TMZ spot sparked rumors of bribery. His breakdown comment about a random clown-looking guy got twisted into an attack on Elias, the 17-year-old who actually jumped in as a hero. And soon Doug was trending for something he never said. The hate comments weren't just noise like in his prank days. This time they cut deep, dragging him back into trauma again and again. With trolls circling, Stu struggling, and Raja now staring down the fight of his life in court, the arrest turned out to be just the opening round. The real war is about to play out in the courtroom, and that's where the truth will finally come out. Rumors were flying that Rampage Jackson had secretly cut checks to Doug to bury the scandal. Comment sections and forums erupted with whispers that Doug had taken the money and switched sides. But Doug being Doug, he didn't just deny it, he turned it into a joke. If Rampage wants to pay me off, cool, $1 million bucks, but I'm not changing my opinions, he said, making it clear that no bag, no bribe, no check would ever buy his stance. And to be fair, Doug's stance was never about letting Raja walk free. He wanted Raja to face consequences, but not just thrown into a cell for maximum time. He believed this situation needed something deeper, a balance between real justice and mandatory mental health evaluation. Doug spelled it out clearly. Raja needed to be held accountable, but the solution couldn't be cruel or careless. Meanwhile, Syko Stu, at the very center of this storm, was quietly fighting a battle far bigger than courtroom drama. This week brought huge news. Stu is finally out of the hospital. That alone is a relief, but his recovery has been anything but smooth. Doctors are treating him like glass, carefully managing every movement, because even a single misstep could undo everything. On top of that, Stu is dealing with a major head injury, compounded by the PTSD of the entire ordeal. He's fragile, emotionally and physically. The medical team even controlled the story around him at first, telling him it was just a ring injury, not to trick him, but to protect his brain while it healed. Meanwhile, the internet never sleeps. Trolls are flooding the web with heartless videos, twisting stories for clicks, amplifying outrage, and making everything even harder for Stu to process. He doesn't even have access to his phone, for good reason. The last thing doctors want is for him to see hate comments and conspiracy theories that could derail his fragile recovery. Zooming out, the saga is much bigger than Raja's arrest. It's about detectives investigating premeditation. It's about Doug being dragged through the mud while accused of bribery. And it's about Stu, finally out of the hospital, still processing trauma from a situation he never asked for. None of them wanted this storm. But once the video blew up, once the lawsuit landed, and once TMZ twisted the story, control was gone. The internet circus took over, running wild with every rumor. Doug thought the worst was behind him when LAPD finally made the arrest, but the trolls weren't done. Hate comments came flooding in like a relentless wave, accusing him of lying, clout chasing, and inflating the story for views. It didn't matter that the arrest had been officially confirmed. The logic of the internet is different. Suddenly, Doug was trending for actions he never took, even accused of attacking a minor, when in reality he had praised a 17-year-old hero, Elias, who risked himself to intervene. Every scroll through comments forced Doug to relive the trauma again and again. In the past, hate was just noise. Pranks, jokes, harmless online drama. But this time it wasn't. This was life or death stakes. Doug's fighting trolls, Stu's fighting for his health, and Raja is now facing the fight of his life in court. The arrest may have been dramatic, but it's just the beginning. The real battle is about to unfold under the judge's gavel, not on live streams or social media threads, where the truth will finally be tested, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Behind closed doors, detectives are dissecting every conversation, every phrase, trying to determine if Raja's attack was planned or just a chaotic fight. Doug's perspective is vital. They need to piece together intent, and he's been pressed hard, recalling details from the room, the incident, and the conversations. Even with reassurance from law enforcement that he isn't a target, Doug can't ignore how intense the scrutiny has been. Meanwhile, the internet continues to twist the story, inventing narratives and spinning rumors faster than anyone can keep up. Stu's journey adds yet another layer to this saga. Out of the hospital but still fragile, he is coping with trauma that's both physical and psychological. Every shock, every stressor could undo months of careful recovery. The doctor's initial decision to frame the incident as a ring injury wasn't deception. It was a protective measure, preserving Stu's mental and physical health. But the trolls don't care. They amplify everything, making the story bigger, nastier, and more complicated. And through it all, the line between the virtual world and reality blurs. Doug and Ian's platforms have become the only place to shine a light on the truth, to give the story clarity amid the chaos, and to remind the public that consequences are real, not just a spectacle. Now the courtroom looms. Raja faces the weight of justice, Stu continues his recovery, and Doug navigates the fallout of a viral story gone completely out of control. This isn't just a wrestling scuffle, it's a fight for accountability, transparency, and truth. And as the world watches, the stakes could not be higher. The internet may have set the stage, but the real drama is just beginning. And the only way forward is under the law, where evidence, testimony, and justice finally take the lead.